Let's talk about how you can improve your English faster. One strategy is to improve different areas of your English at the same time. That's what we'll do today. You'll listen to me read a news article so you can expand your vocabulary, learn correct grammar, and improve your pronunciation at the same time. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our headline, affordability is in crisis. The solution, you'll never own anything again. So here notice affordability. This is a noun. It's the subject of the sentence. Affordability as a noun is the ability to afford. So your ability to afford a home, to afford groceries, to afford rent, whatever it might be, that is the noun concept of affordability as a general concept, one's ability to afford. And notice here, our singular verb to be, because the subject is singular, in crisis. So to be in crisis. This represents a state of emergency. So affordability, the ability of people to afford, is in a state of emergency. We use to be in crisis with serious things. So serious because of your health and safety, or serious because of financial issues as well. So maybe you'll hear in the news, the community was, our verb to be, was in crisis after the hurricane. So the community, the people in the community were facing a state of an emergency because of the hurricane. So here, affordability is in crisis. The solution, notice here, we have a colon. The solution, you'll never own anything again. So if you wanted to connect these two ideas, you could say the solution is that you'll never own anything again. So you can shorten that, use a colon, the solution, and then you just state the solution rather than adding those additional words that are required for grammar. You'll never own anything again. Don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's keep reading. Stubborn inflation continues to make the cost of living unbearable for many Americans. So here, the cost of living, this is your ability to afford your daily essentials, food, rent, water, electricity, transportation, the cost of living. So this relates to affordability, your ability to afford your regular things, your cost of living. Now, this is a phrase, so you need to make sure you're using the correct words, the cost of, and then living. Don't replace this with life or lives or anything else. It's the cost of living, the cost of living. Now let's go back to the beginning here. Stubborn inflation. Inflation, of course, is the economic concept of rising prices over time. Stubborn, you may be more familiar with this adjective to describe a person. So if you describe a person as stubborn, it's because that person wants something or wants to do something and is unwilling to change. So you can say, oh, my roommate is so stubborn. She will only do what she wants and she's unwilling to change or do things differently. She's so stubborn. Now, keeping that in mind, when describing inflation or other things, a problem or an issue, it's because it's difficult to resolve, fix, or change. You can use that word change as well, but it's not that inflation is unwilling to because it has a personality like a person. So it's just difficult to change or fix or resolve. Let's review this again. Stubborn inflation, inflation that just will not change or go down. Stubborn inflation continues to make the cost of living, your ability to pay for life's essentials, the cost of living unbearable. So if the cost of living is unbearable, it means it's so difficult or painful that you don't want to experience it anymore. Unbearable is a very commonly used adjective to describe situations. You can say, living with my roommate is unbearable because she's so stubborn. So the situation is so difficult. It causes me so much pain that I don't want to do it. I want to move. I want to find a new roommate. I don't want to continue in this situation. So you can use this to describe daily life things, or here you're using it to describe a broader economic situation for many Americans. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. A number of inventive solutions. So here our adjective is inventive. So it comes from the verb to invent. So you create something. So inventive solution, it's original, it's creative, it's from one's imagination, it's unique. A number of, you can replace these three words with one word. What would you say? Many. A number of. Or you could also say numerous. Numerous. That sounds more formal, more advanced than saying many, which is an everyday word. So you can replace these three with many inventive solutions or numerous inventive solutions to sound a little more advanced. A number of inventive solutions have emerged. So if they've emerged, they've been created or suggested, proposed, but with a common theme. So there's a common theme. The theme, of course, just like a book has a theme, a movie has a theme. So what is it about? So there's a common subject area. Putting consumers deeper into debt. Oh, so it's not a positive theme because consumers, well, that's you, me, when we buy things, buy groceries, pay our mortgage, pay our rent, pay our car payments, we are consumers, of course. So putting consumers deeper into debt. So deeper, of course, is more, but debt is negative. So let's say this is $0. You owe $0. Positive would be you have $100 in your savings account. Negative 100. Let's go deeper. So more negative, negative 1,000, negative 2,000. So deeper is negative. It means more debt. And notice the pronunciation of debt. Debt, there's no B. It's there for spelling, but not for pronunciation. So it's a silent letter, debt. But I generally won't push out that T, so it will sound like a flap T, debt, debt. If you push it out, debt, debt, debt. Putting consumers deeper into debt. That's how I would naturally say it with the flap T. This week's 50-year mortgage proposal. Okay, so this 50-year mortgage, this is being used as an adjective. It describes the proposal. So what type of proposal? A car loan proposal, a food proposal, an English proposal? It's a 50-year mortgage proposal. So although I haven't read anything more, I understand that it's a mortgage, which is a loan you get to pay for a home. That's a mortgage. There's also a silent letter. What is the silent letter? Mortgage. Mortgage. Well, this T is totally silent, but also notice how this is pronounced is not pronounced the way it looks because the sound is unstressed. So it's gidge, gidge. So we have two sounds. We have more, just like I want more, more, and then gidge, mortgage. Mortgage. So this is what it sounds like. So don't pronounce that T. It is silent. So a 50-year mortgage is a mortgage that lasts for 50 years. So you have to pay off that mortgage for 50 years until you are debt free, which means you have zero debt. So that's why you don't see an S on year, because it's an adjective and adjectives don't have plural forms. So all of this is an adjective. It describes the proposal. So this week's proposal, so the proposal belongs to this week. This week's 50-year mortgage proposal from the Trump administration. So this is where the proposal proposal came from, is the latest example of this trend. So the trend of putting consumers deeper into debt, because that's the last thing that was mentioned. So you always have to think to what you've already learned as the topic or the subject. So the trend of putting consumers deeper into debt. Bill Pult, director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, remarked over the weekend on X. So remarked is another way of saying said, exclaimed, said, and then on X. So X is Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. So he said on Twitter. He remarked over the weekend on X that President Donald Trump's proposal, the proposal being to have a mortgage that lasts for 50 years, a 50-year mortgage to use the adjective form. President Donald Trump's proposal would be a complete game changer, a complete game changer. So a game changer, this is a noun. So the adjective to modify that is complete. Otherwise, you could use a real or a total. Those are adjectives to modify it to make it sound stronger. So it emphasizes it. Now you might be wondering what a game changer is. So in this case, game represents a situation. So the situation in this context is affordability. Okay, so that is the situation, the game. So don't think of it as basketball or chess. It's a situation. And if something is a game changer, it means it completely changes the situation, whatever the situation is. So this proposal would completely change the way people buy homes, completely change the way people get mortgages. That would be what this represents as game changer. Now, the word game changer already sounds like it completely changes. So it already sounds quite intense if you describe something as a game changer. That's intense, but you can make it even more intense with these three choices: complete, real, or total. So remember, you need this article because game changer is a noun and it would be grammatically incorrect without it. So you must use this article, a game changer, and then if you want to use an adjective, a complete game changer. For many Americans, though, it may not be a good one. Because something that completely changes a situation, that doesn't mean it's positive. Of course, a situation can change for the negative. COVID was a game changer. That's generally negative. So here, they're saying for many Americans, it may not be a good one. So it may be something that changes a situation for the negative. They're using though here. Though is the casual way of saying although. For many Americans, although, it may not be a good one. The safest place to put although or though is at the beginning of a sentence, and it's used as a contrast because here this sounds like, oh, maybe there could be something positive because we have this new proposal. They're really excited about it, but now they're saying it's something negative. So we use although or though to make that contrast. Once you get comfortable with the words, you can absolutely use it in the midpoint because it's very commonly done by native speakers. But at the beginning stage, when you're just getting comfortable with it, the safest point is the beginning. And this word one, it may not be a good one. represents a good game changer. It may not be a good change. It may not be a good game changer. So that's what this word one represents. The potential for a 50-year mortgage. So again, this is the adjective. So we have a mortgage. This is the noun, a mortgage. It's a loan for your house. Now, 50-year describes it. So again, that's why there's no S, because it's an adjective. The potential for a 50-year mortgage comes. So here, this verb is conjugated as third person singular because the subject is the potential, it. It comes as the auto industry has been pushing 7-year car loans. So the exact same thing, 50-year mortgage, 7-year car loans. Now, a mortgage is a loan for your house. We don't have a separate word for car loans. So we don't say a car mortgage, for example. Mortgage is only used for your home. Because of that, for other things, you would say the adjective to say what type of loan, and then loan. The word loan is money that you receive from a bank or a friend, family member, a private investment group, but you must pay the money back. You must return the money. So a friend may give you $50, but they say it's a loan, which means they want the $50 back in the future. Now, of course, with these types of loans, you're not just paying $50 because you're also paying interest as well. Most likely, not all the time, but most likely. So car loan, that describes what type of loan. Now let's go back, because if the auto industry has been pushing, so this is in the present continuous because it started in the past and it continues until now. If they've been pushing 7-year loans, it means that they've been trying to promote these loans. So if you go to buy a car, they want you to get a 7-year car loan. So that means pushing. So if you hear something like companies are pushing this product, it means they're promoting it aggressively. Let's keep reading. Which have become, so this continues on which have, the subject is the 7-year car loans. So they have, which have become an increasingly popular option. So the popularity, the people who say, yes, yes, I want one, has been increasing, going up. So an increasingly popular option, with the average price of a new car hitting a new record of more than $50,000. So to hit a new record, we use the verb hit to mean get, achieve, or obtain in certain contexts. And we often use it with the word record. So notice you need of, the preposition of. A new record of, so $50,000, but more than. So you need this than as well, more than $50,000. So it could be 55, could be 60. And the explosion of buy now, pay later options. So here, buy now, pay later, this is the name of the option. So the option, you might see a sign that says buy now, pay later. That's the name of the option. So here, the explosion, it means maybe a week ago you were in the store and you saw one sign that said buy now, pay later, but then an explosion. So a week later, you're in the store and you see sign, buy now, pay later. So it just means that they came to be very quickly and large in quantity as well. And the explosion of buy now, pay later options. So you have the option to buy this car now, but pay for it later. Online and at brick and mortar retailers. So a retailer, that's another word for store. So here, what is a brick and mortar retailer or a brick and mortar store? Well, you can compare it to online. We have online stores, and then we have physical stores. So brick and mortar, that represents that the store was actually built with bricks, and mortar is the material that holds the bricks together. So it's just the expression we use to represent physical stores. So I can drive my car, go to the store, open the door, look at the product, talk to a person, a physical store. So this is just a common alternative to saying physical retailers. So let's review this again. The explosion of buy now, pay later options online and at brick and mortar. Notice how I pronounce this as just a brick and in. So I completely reduce this to brick and mortar, brick and mortar retailers has normalized. So these options has normalized. But although you see options is plural, the subject is actually the explosion. The explosion. That's why it has. It has normalized taking on longer term debt. Okay. So if it has normalized something, so if I take on debt, it means I get debt. So I receive it. I go to a bank and say, I want a loan. Okay. So that's take on debt. And longer term debt, they're talking about 7 years for a car, 50 years for a house. But if it's normalized these actions, it means it has made them seem normal. So my parents and my grandparents would say, what is going to take you 7 years to pay for a car? For them, that wasn't normal. But for people now, people buying a car or buying a home, it's making it normal to take a very long time. So that's what they mean by normalize. So for example, COVID, we talked about COVID being a game changer for the negative, but COVID normalized working from home. It made it normal and acceptable. So that's the verb to normalize. So these options have normalized taking on getting longer term debt for purchases as small as food delivery. So they're saying you can even do a buy now, pay later. So get a loan essentially to have a hamburger delivered to you. So that's what they mean as small as. They're giving you an example of something very minor, something that your parents or grandparents would think it's crazy to take a loan. Buy now, pay later is essentially a loan to have a hamburger delivered to you. These offerings can help ease financial anxiety. So if it eases financial anxiety, it makes it less severe. Just like a pill can ease your headache, make it less severe in the immediate future. But they can also do significant damage. So notice the co-location here. Do damage. You just have to memorize what verbs go together. So do significant, this is the intensifier, do significant damage to a consumer's financial stability over the long haul. The long haul just is in the long term, in the future, because they're contrasting between the immediate future, which is in the near term, and then over the long haul is in the longer term. So just in the future. If I say in the future, it doesn't sound like close, but if you add immediate, it sounds closer. But if I just say in the future, it sounds longer away. Let's continue. Case in point. So they're using this as a phrase to represent that they are now going to give you an example of what they just claimed. They just claimed that these offerings, which represent buy now, pay later, 50-year mortgage, 7-year car loan. So those are the offerings. These offerings can do damage in the long term. That's their claim. So now they're saying, case in point, they're going to provide an example of how their claim is true. So instead of case in point, they could say, for example, while a 50-year mortgage could lower monthly payments, the amount of interest a borrower would pay over 50 years could be double what would be paid at current rates over 30 years. So what they're saying here is if you take out, which means you get a mortgage. So the phrasal verb for get a mortgage is take out. If you take out a mortgage, you pay interest. Interest is the cost of the mortgage. So maybe it's 5%, 10% interest, whatever it is. The bank decides that. You pay that interest every year. Well, of course, if it takes you 20 additional years, you're paying 20 additional years of interest. So they're saying that could be double. So if you were to pay $10,000 in interest over 30 years, you could pay $20,000 of interest over 50 years. Now, it's important that they're using could be double. Double is twice as much. So that's why my example was 10,000 to 20,000, twice as much, double. Could be is just a possibility. There's also a possibility that it isn't double. Maybe it's even less. I don't know, because that's just the possibility. Could be. If they wanted to state it as fact, they would say will be. So the amount of interest a borrower, who is this or what is this? A borrower is the person who borrows money from the bank. So if you take out a mortgage, you are a borrower. You borrowed money from the bank. So if you borrow money, you receive money. If I lend money, I give money. Okay? So I'm the lender, the bank is the lender, and you are the borrower. You're the one receiving the money, but then you have to pay it back and pay interest. Let's just review this so it's clear. The bank lends money to you. So the bank is the lender. You borrow money from the bank. You are a borrower. Or you could say the borrower because it's specific in this case. So the part in parentheses is optional. You don't need to include it. But if you want to be clear who's receiving or where the money is from, you can use to and from. But notice the prepositions are different. So here they continue on. The traditional length of most mortgages. So the traditional means it's the normal length if it's traditional. So 30 years is what, if you tell your parents or grandparents, they would say, yes, that's normal. That's traditional. With average American life expectancy at around 80 years old. So this is how long the average American lives until 80. Most Americans would have to get a mortgage. What was the phrasal verb? Take out. Would have to take out a mortgage. Don't worry if you didn't know that because you just learned this. But not only that, you learned many, many other things. This is information overload for your brain, which is why you need to use the lesson PDF, review everything, review this lesson multiple times as well. Most Americans would have to get a mortgage, take out a mortgage by the time they're 30. Because if, in this case, it's a 50-year mortgage, well, 50 plus 30 is 80. And you may die when you're 80. That's the average life expectancy. Most Americans would have to get a mortgage by the time they're 30 to have a shot. So in this case, a shot represents a chance or a possibility. A chance or a possibility. I'll just write that. Chance or possibility albeit a slim one. So one represents shot, a slim shot, a slim chance, a slim possibility, which means a very small. So slim is the modifier to reduce it. So a slim chance. So if I say, well, I have a chance at the promotion, I have a slim chance at the promotion, it makes it sound a lot smaller than just, I have a chance, I have a slim chance, albeit a slim one. So they have a shot, a chance, a small chance at reaping the benefits of home ownership. So if you reap the benefits of something, of course, it means that you get to enjoy. So what are the benefits of home ownership? Your home is an asset, which means you can sell the home and you will make a lot more money because the value of your home is a lot more when you sell it compared to when you buy it. But if it takes you 50 years to pay off the mortgage, that's why they're saying a slim chance, a slim shot. And notice here they have home ownership as one word. This is a noun because you reap the benefits of something. So after of, you need either a noun, which we have here, or you need a verb. But what type of verb? It would be a gerund verb because of is a preposition. So what would be the gerund verb form of home ownership? If we wanted to turn this noun into a verb, what would it be? At reaping the benefits of, well, we need a verb. Think of an action and then just put it in the ing of owning a home. Oh, I forgot the N. Owning a home. So you see it right here. Own, home. But home ownership, this is the noun form. Owning a home is the verb form, and you need a gerund verb because of the preposition of. And that's the end of the article. So I'll read the article from start to finish and you can focus on my pronunciation. Affordability is in crisis. The solution, you'll never own anything again. Stubborn inflation continues to make the cost of living unbearable for many Americans. A number of inventive solutions have emerged, but with a common theme, putting consumers deeper into debt. This week's 50-year mortgage proposal from the Trump administration is the latest example of the trend. Bill Polt, director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, remarked over the weekend on X that President Donald Trump's proposal would be a complete game changer. For many Americans, though, it may not be a good one. The potential for a 50-year mortgage comes as the auto industry has been pushing 7-year car loans, which have become an increasingly popular option, with the average price of a new car hitting a new record of more than $50,000. And the explosion of buy now, pay later options online and at brick and mortar retailers has normalized taking on longer term debt for purchases as small as food delivery. These offerings can help ease financial anxiety in the immediate future, but they can also do significant damage to a consumer's financial stability over the long haul. Case in point, while a 50-year mortgage could lower monthly payments, the amount of interest a borrower would pay over 50 years could be double what would be paid at current rates over 30 years, the traditional length of most mortgages. With average American life expectancy at around 80 years old, most Americans would have to get a mortgage by the time they're 30 to have a shot, albeit a slim one, at reaping the benefits of home ownership. Do you want to keep learning English with the news? If you do, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. Here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.